everyone, and welcome to this episode of Langer at the Mic. We decided to do a little Habs versus Leafs talk here on Langer at the Mic. Montreal Canadiens are off tonight, and so are the Toronto Maple Leafs fresh after the Habs beat the Edmonton Oilers 3-2 in overtime. The Toronto Maple Leafs beat the Calgary Flames 5-3. And we're joined by a very special guest. We've been meaning to do this for a long time, a fellow CSM, College of Sports Media student, Mr. Jacob Bussey. How are you today, sir?
I am very well. Thank you for having me on the show, Mr. Langer. I'm obviously Jacob Bussey. I run my own podcast called the Banter. Like Mike, I do my own post-game shows of the Maple Leafs. You can follow me on YouTube at Jacob Bussey or just search up Bussey Banter. It shows up there. Same thing with Instagram. And I'm just really happy to be here. Good to talk some hockey with another hockey fan.
Absolutely, man. And especially with the Habs playing the Leafs, you all know tomorrow night for the sixth time this year. We have to.
No, it's only the fifth time this year.
Fifth time this year. Okay, yeah. So they go at it tomorrow night, and look, there's been an up and down season for both the Habs and the Leafs. The Leafs, I'd say, is a little bit more up than down. You know, the Habs, they won 3 in a row, but then they lost to the Senators, whereas the Leafs, they had a streak of going like 5 in a row, of winning 5 in a row, then losing 5 in a row. But now it seems like both teams are heading in the upward direction going into the trade deadline. And they're look, at this point, like, I think we're both pretty confident that they'll both make the playoffs, right? I mean, the Leafs are going to win the division, right? But here's something interesting in Leafs land that is applicable to Habs fans is there's a guy named Alex Galchenyuk who I think the Habs drafted 3rd overall in 2013 or 2012. No, I know he got drafted 3rd overall. But he went from Montreal. I'm going to see if I can get this right off the top of my head here, right? So he went from the Habs. He went to the Penguins. Habs, Coyotes, Penguins, Wild, Senators, Hurricanes, Leafs, right?
Yeah, that sounds right to me, I think.
But something's been happening to him in Toronto, right, Mr. Bussey, right? Something's been happening to him in Toronto that he's experienced for the first time since his 30-goal season in Montreal. Yeah,
I was just about to say, ever since his that incredible season he had with 30 goals, he's playing out of his mind, playing on the second line with Nylander and Tavares, and he looks like a mini Hyman out there. He's skating fast, and he's going in the corner, and he just got his first goal the other day against Calgary in the first of the 2-game series. He's been playing great. I would argue he's one of the best players on the Leafs right now. Like, he's been playing that well. I'm shocked that he's been jumped around so many teams like this. What was the reason Montreal got rid of him in the first place?
Well, I will tell you this, like, his biggest struggle started his entire career, not just in Montreal, but also in Arizona, Pittsburgh, Minnesota, Ottawa, Carolina, right? Yeah. It was his play without the puck. Now, he was drafted as a center. He was a stud with the Sarnia Sting in the OHL when he got drafted. He was a guy, but then he also suffered an ACL injury. But he came back in that lockout season, that NHL lockout season in 2012, and he also just kept it up. Like, he just was playing at a high level with the Sarnia Sting, and he earned a spot with the Habs. But to me, the issue with Galchenyuk has been 2 things. It's been, or maybe even 3 things. It's been health, it's been confidence, and play without the puck. And he had a 30-goal season a couple years ago with the Canadiens. I believe it was 2015, 2016. But again, as a centerman, like, he's playing on the wing right now in Toronto, right, with the Leafs and like with Tavares and William Nylander. But it's just in Montreal, it's always been an issue of just not being in the right place at the right time. Like, it's never been a question of talent; it's just been a question of consistency and play without the puck. I mean, how has that been different with him in Toronto so far?
Well, I feel like a big thing is when he jumped from team to team, he didn't really have that confidence, like you said. When he first got here, he was part of the Marlies. He didn't right away come to the Maple Leafs. He was Marlies. You're going to play there for a bit. You're going to see how you play, and then so that brings up his confidence a little bit because he scored quite a bit in the Marlies, and so they brought him up to Toronto, and ever since then he's taken the job opportunity and he's ran with it, or he's skated with it, whatever you want to use, but. Yeah, like, he does make a few questionable decisions off the puck. However, I think there's more pros to the cons in this sense. And he's kind of a player who I don't think really thinks about that injury that much because right now he's on a team that's in competition to, that's arguably a Stanley Cup contender. So he's going to play like like he did in 2015. Like nothing else matters except the next shift and the next shift. And I think that's what his mentality is, and that's why he's playing so well right now.
It's just such a cognitive dissonant type of feeling to watch him succeed in Toronto, because like on the one hand it's like you're happy he finally figured it out in Toronto, right? But
Yeah.
it's with the Leafs in Toronto, so good for him for finally figuring it out. But hopefully he doesn't. Hopefully, I'm sure he'll score. I'm sure he'll find a way to hurt the Habs at some point this year with the upcoming matchups. But did you read that article in the Athletic? I forget who it was. One of the Leafs writers in the Athletic that said how the Leafs rebuilt Alex Galchenyuk or something.
Yeah, I read it too. I don't remember who it was. It wasn't Steve Simmons because he says stupid stuff all the time. But yeah, like I don't want to say he lit a fire in that team, but he definitely brought a lot of smoke, and with his smoke, there's fire, and then that team just kind of went around him. Yeah, you could argue that he kind of fixed that team a little bit. They were struggling 5 of 6 at one point and dropping. So
well, it was more the other way around. How the Leafs rebuilt Alex Galchenyuk, or was it the other? Was it the other way around? Yeah.
Either way, they complement each other. The way Sheldon Keefe coaches compared to maybe who was the coach back then? Was it Michel Therrien?
It was Michel Therrien. It was Claude Julien for a little bit as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, a lot of players didn't really like Michel Therrien very much. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I heard it was a very messy situation in Montreal. But I just think he has this new opportunity with a team that he really probably wanted to be a part of for a while after he left Montreal, because it's on the Toronto was on the uphill. But yeah, I think there's been a spark lit in him, and I think he's just going to run with this opportunity.
And just by the way, it was funny to see all these social media. It took me a while to get it because I didn't realize what the article was yesterday, or like I think it was until this morning or yesterday where I realized like about how it's the Leafs rebuilding Alex Galchenyuk and all that. Because after that, obviously Habs Twitter has to revolt against Leafs Twitter and vice versa. So you saw a bunch of articles like how the Habs rebuilt Garth Murray and how the Habs rebuilt Tom Kostopoulos and all that fun stuff. But yeah, all this to say though there's a lot of similarities between Galchenyuk and a guy currently on the Canadiens who is also going from center to wing, because that was another issue with Galchenyuk. Was his ability as a center iceman was just not there. Like he just wasn't, again, the consistency, the defensive responsibilities. It wasn't a question of talent. It was a question of responsibility and consistency and confidence, of course. But here's the thing. Jesperi Kotkaniemi right now is going to be moved to the wing with the acquisition of Eric Staal, which we'll get into in a little bit. But who would you think is playing better hockey right now, Galchenyuk or Kotkaniemi?
That's tough because I think they excel in different things. I think Galchenyuk is. I haven't seen too much of Kotkaniemi's play because I haven't watched.
I mean, you saw him snipe Freddie Anderson in the last time the Habs played the Leafs.
Yeah. I saw that one. Trust me, I saw that one. But I think Kotkaniemi is more of a. I don't want to say he's not as like driven to go in the corners and fight for those pucks, but I think Galchenyuk with the recent play is he's not afraid to throw his body in there. I don't know if Kotkaniemi is the same. I haven't watched, like I said, much of him except when they play the Leafs. But from what I've noticed, if there's a puck battle in the corner, I'd rather have Galchenyuk than Kotkaniemi.
So wait, would you say that's the biggest difference between Kotkaniemi and Galchenyuk? Is there?
Yeah, I'd say they're probably better on the wings than they were at centers, and I think that they'll probably be able to flourish on the outsides.
Well, I will tell you this. So Kotkaniemi, 20-year-old Kotkaniemi is much. For Kotkaniemi, it's been. I would say Galchenyuk was always more talented than Kotkaniemi, but Kotkaniemi, again, has more consistent confidence, is a smarter all-around hockey player, and that's what has enabled him to become a more capable center iceman. The only reason why he's on the wing right now is replacing Brendan Gallagher, and because Dominique Ducharme wants to keep him in the top 9 versus putting him on the 4th line. So with Jesperi Kotkaniemi, it's been a matter, and he's also really good at faceoffs. Like he's becoming a much better faceoff guy recently. So I look for him, even though he's playing wing. That also could mean that Danault will be able to cheat more often on faceoffs, and that means Kotkaniemi could jump in and take those draws. But to me, like I said, it's just the biggest difference. The biggest difference is that Galchenyuk is more talented, whereas Kotkaniemi has more overall awareness and hockey sense than Galchenyuk really ever had.
Well, there you go. Because if it was the opposite way around, Kotkaniemi was on Toronto and then did his little thing around the league, I could be able to. But you've seen both of them play, so you have a better understanding of how each of them play.
Now, that being said, though, like I said, Kotkaniemi was replacing Brendan Gallagher on that line of Thomas Tatar and Philip Deneau. And he's one of two injuries. Now, there was a time where the Montreal Canadiens, if they lose Carey Price and Brendan Gallagher for several games, that they would be screwed. But that's not so much the case this year because of all their depth. I mean, at least we'll see. That wasn't the case on Monday against the Oilers. We'll see how it continues going forward. Brendan Gallagher with that awful broken thumb injury, out for 6 to 8 weeks or however long, because it's like the third time in Gallagher's career where he gets like shots right to the wrist like that. Any guys in the Leafs ever happen to like? Who would you say is one of the unluckiest guys in the Leafs like that?
Oh, Wayne Simmons. Oh man, I remember he got his injury. He's out for 6 weeks. Literally, the puck was being dumped. This was obviously 6 weeks ago. They were playing Edmonton in that crazy 3-game series, like the first game or something. At the end of the game, puck gets shot down like as a clearing attempt. It hits Muzzin in the hand. Boop, broken hand. That's unlucky. But I think the unluckiest person on that team was Jack Campbell, because he was playing outstanding. He still is playing outstanding, and obviously we'll get to that later. But he was playing outstanding, and then he gets hurt. Like, he was out for 3 weeks and multiple games there, and the Leafs really struggled. That was that 5 losses in 7 games streak the Leafs were on without Jack Campbell. So they really, really were unlucky with that.
Yeah, we'll get to the goaltending in a little bit because we want to talk about the changes of goaltending. But first, I do want to mention something here. So Nick Robertson made his debut in the playoffs last year in the bubble for the play-in round. I can't really say playoffs because they didn't really make the playoffs. Technically, they lost in the play-in to the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Jab there.
I had to rub that in your face there. Yeah, of course, like Bussey. I had to rub that in your face right there. But to me, though, with Cole, you look at comparing prospects. Last year, it was all about Leaf fans comparing Nick Robertson to Nick Suzuki. And now Nick Suzuki is a regular for the Habs. I mean, he's been a little inconsistent this year. He's been great at times, a little iffy at times. But now I think some Leaf fans have been comparing Nick Robertson to Cole Caulfield. So to me, though, Cole Caulfield is a guy that if you're going to, and I'm going to write about this for Chris's class there, but Cole Caulfield right now is a guy that should now's the time for him to get his chance with the Montreal Canadiens, with his goal scoring ability, with his, even at the lack of size, but given Brendan Gallagher's injury, Cole Caulfield the time is now for him to get a chance. Give him maybe 1 or 2 games in Laval just to get his feet wet, because logistically it's tough to maneuver between from Wisconsin to quarantine to Laval to Montreal. But yeah, Cole Caulfield, look out for Cole Caulfield in a couple of weeks, and or hopefully sooner than later, especially with the Brendan Gallagher injury.
Yeah, oh yeah, I've been watching his play with the whole NCAA Frozen Four. He's been playing out absolutely outstanding. I think he's one of the best prospects this year for sure.
Do you think he's a guy that can put the Habs over the top, though?
It's going to be, I think for Montreal, I think what they really need are those guys, like you said, Kotkaniemi, Suzuki, and then Caulfield when he comes in, the consistency. They have the talent and they have the awareness. They just need to be able to do that every single night, or at least every other night, to give the Habs a good chance to get to the top of the, probably what will be the East Division again next year. Or the Atlantic,
obviously,
I guess.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll have to see how the divisions change next year, but the Brendan Gallagher injury, obviously a huge loss to the Montreal Canadiens. At least they do have the depth to survive and manage that, and they also have the depth to survive and manage a Carey Price injury right now, who has a lower body injury. Tweaked it when Josh Archibald ran into him in the second period against the Oilers last night on Monday. But now it's said that he'll miss about 2 to 3 games due to that injury, and in comes Jake Allen. I was going to say Jack Campbell. In comes Jake Allen. And you look at the Leafs goaltending situation, like we just mentioned, you had Freddie Anderson, number 1 guy, beginning of the year, playing a little iffy up and down. I personally don't think Freddie Anderson's the reason why the Leafs struggled in the games that they struggled in. But it's just, what do you think of this turn of events? Used to be Price versus Freddie Anderson. Now you got Jake Allen versus Jack Campbell.
Yeah, weird. It's like the backups are going to make a really good, kind of resume to be a starting position.
Are they the backups though?
That's another good question. Frederik Andersen's playing his worst hockey since being a Leaf. correction, the worst hockey in his career. He's below 900. He has almost a 3 goals against average. While you look at someone like Jack Campbell, who's barely getting a 1.5 goals against average, and in the last 9 games played by any goaltender, he has the best save percentage and best goals against average. Tied Felix Potvin and Turco Broda's goaltending record of 9 straight wins. So in my mind, if he keeps playing like this, there's no question Freddie's going to walk on the offseason. Leafs got too many free agents they got to re-sign, and Jack's just playing way better.
I mean, to me, at least in Toronto, it's Montreal might be a little bit different, or is it? Well, we could talk about that. But to me, though, it's not so much about Freddie Andersen being bad. It's more about just how good Jack Campbell has been. And the Leafs have way less invested in Freddie Andersen than the Habs do in Price. Price is $10.5 million cap it for the next 5-6 years, whereas Freddie Andersen, at least they can let him walk at the end of free agency. And what has been the biggest issue in Freddie's game so far, do you think?
Well, he's out right now with an injury, so you can argue that.
Health.
But here's another problem, and this is a problem that I saw when we picked up Frederik Andersen in a trade with Anaheim in 2015. The Leafs are so good at letting 30 shots on goal every single night. And Andersen was playing 62 to 65 games a season, which leaves like no room for error, and it's just going to take a toll on your body. So it all comes back to health. Andersen's out, Price is out, and now the backup goaltenders, who are both healthy, although Jack does have a lingering leg injury, which hasn't been bothering him recently. So fingers crossed on that one. But it comes down to health. And Freddie's just not been healthy, and he's just showing it.
Well, by the way, just a little tidbit here. The last time, you know what happened the last time Jack Campbell played against the Montreal Canadiens?
Was it even? Oh, yeah. They won in 2-1 in overtime, right?
Ilya Kovalchuk, baby. Suzuki on the breakaway, got poke checked by Jack Campbell. Covey was right there, buried it, did the freaking Sully, the salute to his family in the press box there. And I think it was my cousin who, by the way, was at that game in the front row on the other side. Shout out to Jeremy Lang, by the way, Lang_2727 on Twitter. And he basically, like, the Habs goal song, like, da-da-da-da, hey, da, like, it was like, da-da-da-da, middle finger, da-da-da-da, middle finger, So anyway, just, so that's the last time Jack Campbell played against the Montreal Canadiens. He's undefeated on the season, right?
Yeah, 9-0-0.
So to me, though, like like with Freddie Andersen, it's been a similar issue with Carey Price, at least in terms of his health in previous years. I wouldn't say so much this year. For Price this year, it's been mostly the way there's just something weird about how he's reading players' releases, like the release of shots off players' sticks, like that Darnell Nurse goal that was scored with 12 or 11 seconds left in the second period there. It was a shot from the blue line. Okay, maybe a little bit of traffic to his left, but not in the line of the shot. And it just kind of eluded Price. Like, he just didn't get it. Like, it was a good shot, don't get me wrong. But you want your goaltender to stop that one, your $10.5 million goaltender to stop that from, all the way from the blue line with barely any traffic. But then again, Price did make a lot of saves in that game to give the Habs a chance to win, so...
There was a goal when the Leafs played Montreal earlier this season when Matthews scored on the blocker side, I think, and it went right under the pad, like just over the pad. I'm like, Price would usually save that. There was no traffic in front, so I was shocked when that goal went in. Like, I was happy, but I mean, like you said, $10.5 million, you got to make those saves.
But again, Price, like, I don't like to really talk too much about the contract anyway. The reason for that is, look, Price he's not going anywhere. If the Habs want to buy him out at the end of the year, they're gonna have to eat a huge cap hit of dead money for the next, like, kind of like the DiPietro situation almost in Long Island there. But so that's out of the question. The best thing for the Habs and Carey Price right now is just let him rest up, give him the best chance to succeed. Like with Freddie Andersen, wait till he gets healthy, and yeah, just give him the best chance to succeed, at least in the regular season. And he's done it before. He's bounced back before. He's played it at a very high level before. Even this year in the month of March, he was unreal in the month of March. So that's what you can hope for with Carey Price. And worst case, if he really struggles, then you could always turn to Jake Allen, maybe in the playoffs. And same thing with the Leafs. I would say the Leafs are pretty much more down that Jake Allen trail, and the Habs are down the Jack Campbell trail than the Habs are with the Jake Allen situation, right?
Yeah, and like you said, Montreal it's basically a 4-man race for the playoffs right now. It's Montreal, Edmonton, Winnipeg, and Toronto. So you don't have to put Price in. You're quite a few points ahead of the next, which is Calgary. So you don't have to put Price in. Like, you can let him rest and get healthy. So when the playoffs do come, because that's what I'll get into it later when we talk about what scares each other. It's Carey Price at the end of the day.
Interesting. We'll get to that in a little bit. But you know what? First, I do want to talk about this because there's a Leafs Twitter and Habs Twitter go back and forth about this so much in terms of Habs making fun of the Leafs for Wayne Simmons and Joe Thornton, Jason Spezza, and then Leaf fans making fun of the Habs for Shea Weber, Corey Perry, and then acquiring Eric Staal. So let me ask you this here, Jake. Who has the better old guys, the Habs or the Leafs?
Personally, I believe the Leafs just because of the veteran experience it brings to the team. I've also hated Corey Perry his entire career. Nothing personal against Montreal. It's just I hate Corey Perry. I've just never liked him. Shea Weber's slap shot scares anybody at any time, at any place. But when you look at Spezza seems to have found his old vintage ways. 21 points in 38 games played, which for a fourth liner is pretty crazy. Thornton only has 12 points. But the one that I think is the big game changer is Wayne Simmons. Simmons will box you out in front. He'll fight you. And if he wasn't injured, he's a healthy Simmons. He's been known to just create chaos in front. So like I would kind of argue as like a Brendan Gallagher, a little older, because a prime Wayne Simmons, we go back to that Philadelphia team when he scored 30 plus goals. Like, he's not doing that anymore, obviously not, especially with with an injury he has to keep in mind. But I think Wayne Simmons out of those three guys are the most important. And it's also just a moral thing. You know, you got a guy whose Leafs have never been a fighting team. And you've seen this to the past however long. They've never been a fighting team. They want to
besides the Randy Carlyle days, of course, where they just were a fighting team and not a winning team.
There you go. Or you could even go back to Ty Domi and Darcy Tucker. Like, you can go that's how far back there you have to go. But the Leafs wanted a fighter, and they got a fighter in Wayne Simmons, and he's just kind of lived up to that potential in the games that he's played. Scored in the last game, kind of a crappy goal, but a goal's a goal at the end of the day, and that's my personal opinion. I'd like to hear your take on it.
So I would say Wayne Simmons is not just a fighter. Like, there's no, like, if you're just a fighter in today's NHL, you're not a hockey player. Like, you're not an NHL player. We have to be absolutely clear on that. So Wayne Simmons has been very effective for the Leafs in terms of not only his fighting, but like you said, just his ability to skate, to hit, to get the dirty areas in front and all that. It's like, to me, the way I see it, it's really a matter of, you talk about on the Leaf side, you have Spezza, Thornton, and Simmons. On the Habs side, you have Shea Weber, Corey Perry, and Eric Staal. It's really a matter of, like, to me, you got to wash out Thornton versus Weber, because they're kind of, like, Weber's been struggling. Thornton is not what he used to be. So I'm going to be a homer and say Eric Staal and Corey Perry. You know why? Because Corey Perry himself pretty much changed the Habs power play all on his own. Like, the Habs before, I mean, it's also Dominic Ducharme and Alex Burrows, but Corey Perry, his ability to like he low-key has almost a point per game in the last handful of games. He's up to right now, what is it, 7 goals? Yeah, 7 goals, 7 assists, 14 points, 28 games, and he was also a star on the taxi squad. So he had to come a long way to finally assert his role. And he's moving up the lineup. Now he's on the 3rd line, started off on the 4th line, and again, he's just so effective on the power play, and he brings an element that is missing from the Habs. So does Wayne Simmons, I guess, but you can say that skill, that passing, hands, and the ability to stand in front of the net, like, is and cause traffic in front, but also, like, be productive at, not just have the shot hit you all the time, right? Like, that's something that the Habs have been really missing. And now Eric Staal, last game, like, he's the tallest center on the Montreal Canadiens probably since Dainius Zubris. Well, you probably don't know what Dainius Zubris is, but
I know that name. Oh, that goes back to
NHL 2001, just so you know. Yeah. So he's kind of like a Matt Sundin height, though, right? You're talking 6'4", 6'5", 190 pounds. Covers so much space in the middle. And while, Spezza's been, like, really, really effective for the Leafs, like you said, I think Eric Staal hit, like, what he will do for guys like Kotkaniemi and Suzuki is just gonna exceed. Like Stahl and Perry at forward have been. They've been that much more effective. They've meant a lot more to the Habs, I think, compared to Simmons and Spezza, because the Leafs were able to win without Simmons, right?
Yeah, that's true. I feel like I think this is more of like what they're producing versus like on versus off the ice. Like I think the Leafs veterans bring more of a kind of intangible to the team, like a moral boost, while like you said, Stahl, Perry, and
But you want to know something else? You want to know something else though?
What's that?
Guess how many Stanley Cups that Corey Perry and Eric Stahl have between the two of them?
Between them? Two,
Yeah.
no?
They have two. Guess how many gold medals they have? Okay, maybe not gold medals, but Stanley Cups, they have two.
They got a
Right?
bunch of gold medals, no?
I mean, they do, but I'm saying they have two Stanley Cups, whereas Spezza, Thornton, and Simmons, how many Stanley Cups they have between the three of them?
I don't think they have any.
Exactly. Yeah. So,
Yeah, so I guess you can argue, but again, intangible versus tangible. Like these guys are producing, they've been produced their whole life. Well, I think nowadays Spezza is more like kind of they just have fun nowadays, and I think that's what they're playing. They're playing for fun, right? Obviously not for fun. They want to win, but they're playing with fun.
but we can all agree that all six of those, okay, maybe five, not all six, but five out of those six guys, Eric Stahl, Corey Perry, Jason Spezza, Joe Thornton, Wayne Simmons, they have all been tremendously effective.
Yeah.
On very cheap contracts. Very cheap contracts.
Yeah, 100%. Is Perry and Stahl on like
so Perry's on a vet minimum. Perry's on a vet minimum, 750k on the cap hit, and Eric Stahl, his salary got cut in half because Buffalo retained 50% in the trade. So basically they're all playing at like they've all been playing well above their pay grade on their respective teams. So we can both agree on that, and they will be.
You guys really save Eric Stahl from Buffalo, huh?
I mean, someone had to, and someone's got to save Taylor Hall from Buffalo, and someone's got to save Taylor Hall from himself, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, that's
Because I mean, I don't know if Taylor Hall is gonna like Taylor Hall, given his track record. Look at the Arizona Coyotes where they were before he got there versus when he did get there, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I'd be very careful if I'm trying to acquire Taylor Hall.
Taylor Hall.
Man, Buffalo is just like a black hole of.
Yeah,
but they would still find, you know what, the Buffalo Sabres, if the Habs had to play the Sabres this year, the Habs would still find a way to lose to the Sabres, man.
It's
honestly.
the same thing with Toronto, 100%.
For Toronto, it's Ottawa.
Yeah,
and the Habs, it's Ottawa also. Ottawa's like that bug on the windshield that you just can't get rid of. Or like that bug that just keeps buzzing like around your head while you're trying to just chill on your balcony in the summer. You know? That's Ottawa.
No matter how many times you swat it away, it's always going to be there.
Yeah, exactly. No matter how many times you swat it away. But you know what? We're going to go to one of our last two segments here. We're going to get into our confession segment. All right. So first of all, I want you to tell me, Mr. Bussey, what scares you the most about the Toronto Maple Leafs as a Leaf fan?
Our power play. We scored finally. 1 for 29. We went for 0 for 28. We finally got one. Oh my God, it's like a monkey off your back, but it is not good. We got scored shorthanded on that power play. We have let 3 shorthanded goals on this season for a team that's supposed to run away with this division. That's pretty upsetting to me. It just looks so bad. The entry is just not there. No one is shooting, and they're all deciding to just ring it around the outside. No one's going down low. No one's getting in front of the net. It scares me to see that, because when the playoffs come, those power plays that are so very rare become so much more important. And some games have been decided. Look at that San Jose Vegas game last year was decided by a power play. Granted, it was a very questionable call, but that doesn't go to show that like power plays are so important in the game, and if you can take advantage of it, you're going to win. If I were Toronto to go against Montreal, Montreal's getting a power play, and Toronto gets a power play, I'm more likely to go on Montreal's side of scoring than Toronto.
But hold on a sec. So was this come down to coaching or execution and effort by the players? Because with you have $40 million tied in 4 forwards that have that are like Marner, Matthews, Tavares, Nylander, right? Like, I don't have to keep reminding you. I mean, I'll keep reminding you anyway. But yeah, like that. Like, is that a player issue or is that a coaching issue?
I think it's both. I think Manny Malhotra, we brought him in as a special teams coach. Manny Malhotra obviously played in the league quite a few years. it worked off at the beginning. Like we were first for probably the first 3-4 weeks of the season, and then it just kind of tapered off. It was kind of skitty, and then it just went for that 0 for 28. And I think the players, like the Leafs, are unreal 5-on-5. Like they have one of the top 5 most goals scored 5-on-5. But I think on the power play, they just kind of take it like they want perfection. When on a power play, you're not gonna get perfection. Like they rely. Here's what it is. You remember last year when Montreal and Toronto played in the home opener and Matthews scored those crazy goals on the power play over? That's not happening because A, Matthews has already had an injury this season, and B, teams know this. Like it's gonna go to Matthews if he's on his side. Kind of like Ovechkin. It's coming, so you do whatever you can to stop it. And it's just been like that all season. Marner doesn't shoot a lot, and that pisses me off a lot. And it scares me a lot. So there's just a few like that power play. Other than that, I think, Bogosian is questionable sometimes. But other than that, I think everything is just clicking for the Leafs.
Man, Austin Matthews is one of the most talented goal scorers in the NHL, if not the most talented, probably behind Ovechkin. I always say Ovechkin is the best pure goal scorer of all time. Like there's no debate scorer
about it.
Yeah. Because playing in today's NHL, being like just under about 150 goals shy of Gretzky's record, playing in today's NHL, where goalies actually know what they're doing. Like Ovechkin, I'm not talking as an overall hockey player, but as a pure goal scorer, Ovechkin is the best of all time. Austin Matthews might be the second best pure goal scorer in the NHL right now. And I'm saying that I'm fully admitting that as a Habs fan. Now, Matthews has improved at his faceoffs, his playmaking, his two-way game as a defensive player, playing a full 200-foot game. But one thing that Austin Matthews is soft. He is soft, and he can get rattled easy. In that overtime, sure, he scored the game winner against the Edmonton Oilers that game. But as soon as he kind of taken down, sort of, but not really, goes to the ref. What the heck was that? Are you effing kidding me? Blah, 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 right? So, and then obviously in the home opener, he had Sherratt and Weber. I mean, look, Sherratt and Weber sure cross-checking him a bunch of times, but it goes both ways. Like, the Habs have had to deal with so many of their best players getting hit from behind and and having the other players not penalized for it. So it goes either way. But here's the thing, like Austin Matthews just complains and just like he can get rattled easily from what I've seen. He can score goals, like he'll score goals for sure, but he'll get rattled easily.
And if you look at the best players in the league, I think a lot of them do that too because they're the best players in the league and they're expected to get special treatment, which I think is stupid because you're a hockey player. If you're going to get hit, you better believe if there's no call, it's not because it's no call. You better believe it's not just because you're a star player. It's because there was nothing dirty about the play. And I think it's kind of getting to his head. He's leading the league in goals right now by 5 or 6 goals right now. And I think I don't want to say it's getting to his head and it's kind of making him think that he's like the best, but I think when you think like that, you think you're going to get treated like the best. Like you can see McDavid, although not suspended, did get fined. McKinnon, not suspended, did get fined. So it goes to show that like no one's really exempt from a penalty when you do something wrong. So I agree, he needs to toughen up and just play the game. I've always said this my entire career. If the refs call a play, let the refs ref. You play hockey. And let them ref. If there's no penalty, then there's no penalty. Keep playing until the whistle.
Honestly, Jake, we could have a whole other discussion about the refs. So I wouldn't fully agree with that statement, but
sure.
But at the end, but I will agree with like you have to focus on what you can focus on as a hockey player. And to me, it's like star players. Look at Crosby back in those old days. He would complain all the time, but you know what? It wouldn't get in his head. He would come right back at you, keep playing hard, keep playing. Like Crosby, he's known for being the best grinder of all time, essentially, right? Playing hard, talented, aware, 200-foot game, passing, backhand, shooting, goal scoring, garbage goals, highlight reel goals, beautiful assists, face-offs. Like he was an all-around, like that's why Crosby is one of the best players of this generation. And yes, he would complain to the refs, but he would not let it get. I can only think of maybe one time where it got into his head was in that series against the Philadelphia Flyers in 2013. Yeah, that might be the only time, or 2012. 2012 it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Right? 2012 or 2011 or the year before.
I
it was
think
one of those years.
Yeah, I think it was 2012, I think.
I want to say, 2012. So that was maybe the only time that Crosby got rattled. But to me, Matthews, again, he'll score his goals, but when he gets rattled, he gets rattled and he could get taken off his game easily. So yeah, so that's the disadvantage on Matthews' end. And I think I could, I'll talk about what I think scares me the most of the Montreal Canadiens, because we've been enough on the Leafs here. So what bothers me, or what scares me the most about the Montreal Canadiens, is honestly their ability to, like, they're playing their own zone. Their breakouts, like, so many goals that they've given up, like 3 of the 5 goals that were given up, or the 6 goals minus the empty netter. 3 of the 5 non-empty net goals the Habs gave up to the Sens were just simply because of either poor, just lazy, careless, dumb plays in their own zone, or completely losing who is the most dangerous guy in the ice, losing awareness of the most dangerous guy in the ice and leaving him wide open. Like, you had it was one of the Dadonov goals, I want to say, against the Senators, where you had Kulak and Petrie and Kotkaniemi all converge to the Senators player. I think it was Nick Paul, I forget who it was, behind the net, leaving Dadonov wide open from point blank range. And then you had Jeff Petrie, or Brett Kulak, I think, attempt like a blind breakout pass, which got turned over. They got stuck in no man's land, pucks in the back of the net. That was, I think, I want to say it was Josh Norris, the Josh Norris goal, the Nick Paul goal. But then against the Edmonton Oilers last game, you have Edmondson gets beat behind the net. You have Shea Weber and Jonathan Drouin all puck watching him. Jonathan Drouin covering the back door, covering no one back door, just not having, like just standing there, not having any idea that Drew Shore is right behind him. Or sorry, Devon Shore, not Drew Shore. Devon Shore is right behind him. So that's what scares me the most about the Habs. And honestly, I will give it to you. The Leafs defensively have been really, really good this year. Have been, or really, really good. I'll say much better than past Leaf teams. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I go back to like the Gardner and Phaneuf era, and it's just complete 180. TJ Brody is probably the best defender on that team, like defender on that team, because Riley, we know from since he was drafted, is a very offensive-minded defender. Still a great defender nonetheless. There was a game, I was going to ask you, there was a game earlier this season where Ottawa beat Montreal in overtime. Brady Tkachuk walked out in front, scored on Jake Allen. Is that another example of poor puck management in their own zone?
Well, that's a whole different story. That's just the overtime struggles that the Canadiens have had up until the last 2 times they made it to overtime. Man, on Monday, like yesterday with Eric Stahl, and that just awesome. Like, I was just yelling and like crazy when he scored that goal. Like, that's like finally the Habs have kind of started to figure out this whole overtime strategy, where they're going to try to keep it away from the top players on the other team when they start, tire them out, get them trapped, and then change on the fly, get their best players out there and try to take chances where they could, like that. And it worked against the Oilers yesterday, but to me, like, I wouldn't say like that Tkachuk goal in overtime back a month ago and back in the Claude Julien days before Deschamps, that was more on the Habs just sucking in overtime versus their ability. But yeah, kind of also their lack of awareness in their own zone and their just inconsistency with breaking out of their own zone. Because if the Habs, they don't have a Matthews, they don't have a Marner, they don't have a guy that, at least right now, they don't have a guy that's like a top 5, top 10 player in the NHL at forward, at least, right? Maybe Kotkaniemi, maybe Suzuki, maybe Caulfield, maybe one of those guys can become that, but they're not that right now. And Eric Stahl, Corey Perry certainly used to be that, but they're not right now. So the Habs defensively, if they're going to be in low scoring games, they have to be almost flawless defensively, because if they're going to dominate a team outshooting them 15-5 like they did against Edmonton on Monday in the first period and not score, that's not terrible, but also you can't give up a goal with 20 seconds left on their 5th shot of the game. That's on Carey Price. That's on just, again, the 3 guys I mentioned, Drouin, Edmondson, and Weber, just all getting beat all together at the same time. So that has to be better for the Habs. Now, let me ask you this though: what scares you as a Leaf fan, Jake? What scares you about the Montreal Canadiens?
Oh man, besides the fact that they've dominated us for the past 10 years. Right now, as it stands, Montreal and Toronto would play in the first round, or at least that's what we think. It's going to be a first round, I would assume. And if I'm looking at goaltenders, Carey Price in the playoffs scares me, like absolutely terrifies me. I will always make the argument that if he doesn't get injured in 2014, 2015, Montreal wins that Stanley Cup. I don't think there's a doubt about it. He was the best goaltender in the league. But when he gets to the playoffs, he reminds me a lot like LeBron James of hockey. Like, he's just a different breed. And we saw it last year against the Penguins where they knocked them out. Like the Penguins are expected to run Montreal out of town, and Montreal put up a good fight against the Penguins, and then they put up a good fight against the Flyers, who have obviously kind of the bed this year. There's Carey Price, and then there's the young guys, Nick Suzuki, Kotkaniemi, and then Caulfield you're bringing up. Like you said, they're not top 10 in the league. They're not top 20. But when they get there, Toronto's going to have to play them. And in that time, when Montreal has developed their team, which they probably will develop them properly, then, Toronto might not be at the same spot they are now then. So that scares me. It's the future of what's to come. It's like the ghost of the future has already said, hey, Montreal's coming, and they're going to be the Montreal Maple Leafs all over again.
And by the way, also in terms of their goaltending situation, you got Carey Price, of course, is like he was in a different league in the bubble last year against the Penguins and against the Flyers. He was in a completely different stratosphere in terms of his play. He's shown that, like, you've seen snippets of that this year in March, but over the entire course of the season, I would kind of be, I'm actually surprised that that's what scares you the most. I would agree more on the Kotkaniemi Suzuki thing if they could get there. If they can be annoying, because what Kotkaniemi is, like I said, is he's good on the forecheck. Like he's annoying.
He's so annoying. Oh my
he's
God.
He's good as a passer. Like him, Drouin, Suzuki, they're all really good passers of the puck. But to me, like the Habs, they're 3 deep at goaltender right now. 3 deep because Price, Allen, and also Caden Primo has been playing really well for the Laval Rocket.
I just feel like if you give Price the rest he needs right now, which I believe Montreal should do, and let Allen play. Allen, also a Stanley Cup champion, also has been in the playoffs as a starter with the St. Louis Blues. If he's able to do what he's expected to do and Price gets that time off and Price comes back 100% healthy, then, that's what scares me a lot. And if Montreal realizes that, if Bergevin is like, okay, I don't care what you say to Charm, we're not putting him in. He needs to be healthy because, like I said earlier, it's basically a 4-man race for the playoffs. Vancouver isn't touching the ice anytime soon. Flames suck in the Sens of the Sens. You need to give Carey Price that rest. And once he gets that rest and he comes back healthy for the playoffs, he's lights out.
I would actually say it's kind of the opposite. I feel like Price actually does need not 60 games a season. It's hard to say with a 56 game schedule, and with obviously the Habs playing 4 games a week from here on out to the end of the season.
Oh
yeah, because of their COVID break 10-day COVID break there. But to me, with Carey Price, I've always said like Carey Price and Jake Allen, this tandem is interesting because Jake Allen plays at his best when he has a backup goaltender's workload. So I'm talking like 30 games a year, 30, maybe 40 games tops. Whereas Price, he's at his best, I find. 70 too much, 70 games too much, and I'm talking 82 game season, of course, but somewhere around 50 is most ideal for Carey Price because when he's not playing at the top of his game, he doesn't play often. That's when he starts to get a little rusty. But if he's playing, let's say 2 or 3 times a week, I would say, let's say twice, if they're going to play 4 games a week, if he's playing 2 or 3 of those games every week, well, that's where, and if he's healthy and he's playing well, then he's able to build on the momentum of his good games. And that's how he gets so good in the playoffs, because it's just a different season, different mindset. He's been there before. And I find whenever he plays well in the playoffs, it's because he just translates his play so well from game to game to game and builds off of his performances and just gets his confidence going. Now,
right, and so I talked about Montreal and what scares me. When you play Toronto, what is one thing you're like, oh, great, we have to play these guys? What scares you about the Leafs so much?
So you know what? I wasn't going to take the easy answer of Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, William Nylander, John Tavares, blah, blah, blah. I wasn't going to say that because, look, they're going to score their goals, obviously. But to me, what scares me the most about the Leafs right now, and I kind of teased this before, is did the Leafs start figuring out this whole playing defense thing and this whole goaltending thing? Because to me, if Marner, Matthews, like the years past at least, yeah, sure, they're going to score their goals, but they could be up 4-1, they could be up 5-1, 5-0 maybe, but like 5-1 against the Ottawa Senators and blow a 5-1 lead or a 4-1 lead. So, or against the Montreal Canadiens in the home opener last year, where Kasperi Kapanen decided to throw a stick at Jeff Petrie, and then the Habs retook the lead, but then Matthews tied up, and then Carey Price shut down Matthews, Marner, Nylander, Tavares, I think, all in the shootout. So all this to say is, if the Leafs can combine their goal scoring with now actual good defense and good goaltending, that's what scares me the most in terms of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Because if they're not going to be, if they aren't the same old Leafs with even like going back to the old guys, Wayne Simmons, Joe Thornton, Jason Spezza. I mean, Jason Spezza was there last year. But if they aren't the same old Leafs anymore, and if they're this team that can score goals and play defense, that worries me in terms of playing the Leafs tomorrow night and in terms of going in a potential 7-game series against the Toronto Maple Leafs as the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, well, like, and you said the Leafs really, well, quick fact for you, that Brody was actually, when Kadri got traded, Dubas wanted to trade for Brody instead of Barry. And look, well, Barry's kind of worked out in Edmonton, but Kadri said, I'm not going to Calgary. So that's how they got Barry and Kerfoot, which Kerfoot's been playing out of his mind. So Dubas wanted Brody for a long, long time, which goes to show that he's really been in habit. Dubas, I think, is might be the best general manager the Leafs have had in a very long time. And so I don't want to get too much into it, but he was looking at to fix the defense. He listens to the fans, and he listens and he reads the analytics and says, yeah, we need defense. And so he went on and got it.
Are you sure you take Dubas over Lou Lamoriello, though?
Yes, because I think Dubas, being a lot younger, understands the game a little more. Lamoriello made some very questionable trades, I will say. But yeah, I think Lamoriello is a little old school, and I think Dubas understands a little more. I think Dubas was willing more to listen and understand what the Leafs problem and address them. Then Lamoriello was more like, it's fine, we're in the playoffs, or we have a good team, we can score 6 goals and win 6-5. And Kyle's Dubas is like, yeah, no, we got to win those 2-1 games, those 2-0 games. Like, that's what I think the big difference is. And I think he gets along way better with the players than Lamoriello did.
I mean, yeah, for sure. Like, from that standpoint, Lamoriello, I don't know. I mean, he was the guy that built that dynasty in New Jersey in the late 90s and early 2000s. But he's doing pretty well in Long Island, though. So you got to give Lamoriello some.
I give him 100%. He's a good GM. I just don't think he fit the Leaf style, and I think when Dubas came in,
just the modern type of hockey. Yeah. So one more thing I want to ask you, though, because there's this whole debate over Leafs Habs Twitter. There's so many things that Leafs Habs social media debates about, and I even made a TikTok about this at Mike Langer on TikTok, and I screwed it up because I thought Cam Atkinson was a Canadian. I listed him as a guy that should be, if he was Canadian, he should be on Team Canada over Zach Hyman, in my opinion. But who is Canada's team?
Oh, man. If you're a Leaf fan and you say it, you're a jerk. If you're a Leaf fan and you don't say it, you're undermining your own team. Like, everyone hates Leaf fans. You know this. I know this.
Everyone hates Habs fans too. Let's be real, though, right?
Yeah. Okay. No. Yeah. Okay. I guess so. But they hate Leaf fans way more, and there's no argument there. Everyone will find a way to hit on them. So if I say that Leafs are Canada's team, everyone's going to hate me because you're a Leaf fan homer. If I say they're not Canada's team, they're going to say, oh, but they're the best team in the league right now. There is no Canada's team. Every team that plays in Canada is Canada's team. Like, I can say the Leafs are Canada's team, but someone in Vancouver thinks Vancouver's Canada's team. Like, it doesn't really matter who Canada's team is. There's 7 different teams, just 7 different ways to split. We can all be friends here, can't we?
Well, then again, here's what I will say. Okay. The Montreal Canadiens, they're Team Canada. They are Team Canada because they have Eric Staal, they have Corey Perry, they have Shea Weber and Carey Price, who all won gold medals with Team Canada in 2010 and 2014. Okay, Carey Price in 2014, but yeah, and I think Eric Staal in 2010, not 2014. But anyway, so the Habs are literally guys, sure the Leafs have John Tavares, okay, but the Habs have guys from Team Canada that won gold medals in 2010 and 2014. So the Habs, by that standpoint, are Team Canada. But here's the thing. The way it comes down to me, though, is the Leafs, you know what? I could say the Leafs are Canada's team. Why? Wow. The same way that the Dallas Cowboys are America's team. But what does that mean? Absolutely nothing. Because the Dallas Cowboys haven't made it to the championship game in 25, 30 years. And the Leafs haven't won a Stanley Cup in 50 years and haven't made it past the first round in 15 to 20 years. So from that standpoint, from being in terms of the most prestigious franchise in Canada, but if that's what Canada's team is, and because the Leafs they're the Maple Leaf, right? And the Dallas Cowboys are the Star, and then you have the America's Star Spangled Banner, America's team, blah blah blah. So yeah, great. Just I always say the Cowboys are the Leafs of hockey, of football, and the Leafs are the Cowboys of hockey. So from that standpoint, the Leafs are absolutely Canada's team. But if you're talking about who is Team Canada of this division, well, you got to say the Montreal Canadiens because of all the gold medalists that they have from the Vancouver and Sochi Olympics.
I would also say there's a few more reasons there. They're literally the Canadiens, which translate to those who don't speak French to Canadians. And you guys have the most Stanley Cups in the league. Like, I don't think there's much of a debate here. Like you said, in terms of actually being Team Canada, I think Montreal takes it. But like the Dallas and Toronto, in that sense of Team Canada, yeah, Toronto takes the cake. Unfortunately, I will wear my Duns hat in the corner.
And again, like I said, it doesn't. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because if the Leafs are Canada's team the same way that the Dallas Cowboys are America's team. So at the end of the day, does it translate to winning? Well, at least not in the last 50 years. So, or in the Cowboys case, the last 30 years. So, and you know what, let's just, it's been great having you on the show here on Langer at the Mic. And it's been great also being on Bussey Banter, of course, as usual. Hey, you could give a big thumbs up on our video here and subscribe to both Langer at the Mic for me and Bussey Banter for Jake over here. But let's just end with a quick little, what are your predictions for the game tomorrow night?
I think it's going to be a lot closer. I think it's going to be one of two things, either a blowout from one team or the other, or it's going to be a close game. Obviously, I think Toronto's going to win, but it's going to be either like a 1-goal game or 2-goal game, or it's going to be like a 5-goal game. There's like no in between here. Is Jake Allen starting?
It's probably going to be Jake Allen versus Jack Campbell. Yeah.
Jack Campbell. So Jack Campbell's looking to make history, while Jake Allen's looking to stop that. So I'm going Toronto, either a blowout or either an extremely close game where I won't be able to sleep for 3 nights.
So if let's say you have whatever the over under is, I don't know what the over under is, I'm taking the under in this one. I'm taking the under this one. I think it's going to be maybe at most a 4-3 game. And the Montreal Canadiens are going to end Jack Campbell's streak, because Jack Campbell is not that good. He's not going undefeated this year, and he's got to lose sometime.
Oh, I don't think he's going to go undefeated. Yeah, I'm with you.
And also you look at regression and the law of averages, I guess. Every year, interestingly enough, the Leafs and Habs have alternated between the Habs having the Leafs number one year and then the Leafs having the Habs number another year, and then back and forth and back and forth. So far, it seems to be the case that the Leafs have the Habs number, but they're also playing 10 games against each other. So that's a large sample size of games. It's not like 5 games in a in a normal season, or I think at most 8 games like 10 years ago in the old schedule. Oh, yeah. So I'm going to say that the Montreal Canadiens are going to win tomorrow night. They're going to win by a score of 4. Let's go with 4-3. And it's not going to be overtime. It's going to be regulation by a score of 4-3.
Leafs are 3-1 against them this year, though. So that's food for thought.
But hey, like I said, law of averages. And Jack Campbell, he's not, again, he might, even if he does win tomorrow, he ain't going undefeated this season. So he ain't gonna, he's got to lose one of these games. And hey, if the Habs beat the Leafs tomorrow, well, maybe the Leafs will beat the Habs the next time, or vice versa. So, or
one team will sweep the other, and then either one of us will be really happy and the other will be really
sad. Then the Leafs will lose in the first round of the playoffs like they always do.
No, if we play, that's a different. We'll get to the play. We'll do the playoff closer to the actual playoffs.
Like, yeah, if the Habs play the Leafs in the playoffs, like, honestly, it's gonna be a civil war.
Oh,
actually, by the way, I'm just confirming. So it's expected right now. Jake Allen's gonna start, and it's saying according to Score Mobile, Michael Hutchinson is expected to start.
That'll probably change closer to the day. It depends on. I don't know what it depends on. I didn't know that. I would assume Jack Campbell gets to start, but if they put Michael Hutchinson, they put Michael Hutchinson, and I cry myself to sleep.
And I will rejoice at that. Like, essentially Hutchinson versus Campbell. It's essentially like Koskinen versus Mike Smith in Edmonton. Yeah. Like, Koskinen's just like a rebound fest.
but Hutchinson does get wins. He's 4-2 on the season, so he does get more wins than losses this season compared to the abysmal season he had last year.
But if he's going to play, like, we've seen Michael Hutchinson, when he starts playing a lot of games, his play starts doing this, right?
Yeah.
So either way, I'm saying I'm taking the Habs to win this one. Even without Brent Gallagher, Eric Stahl will have another look. He was really good on the face-off circle, but he wasn't. He was okay at 5-on-5, but I think he'll be better in this game, and he will make a difference. That like him and Corey Perry and Nick's and he's playing with Toffoli and Drouin. He's playing with Toffoli and Drouin. They were in the offensive zone the entire game against Edmonton the other night. Suzuki, Perry, and Anderson has been really good. Like the Habs, that's what it is. It's their depth at forward. Like they're gonna come at you with 3-4 lines, and they're just gonna they wear teams down. They put up a lot of shots on net, but the question is, again, can they get enough goals, and then can they minimize the brain farts in their own zone? So they're gonna have a brain fart or two in their own zone, like they always do, and the Leafs will capitalize, but the Habs will come out on top with a 4-3 victory.
And there you go.
So, hey, that's all we got here on this Langer at the mic Bussey banter. Bussey banter at the mic, I guess you could call it that, right? Bussey banter at the mic. You can give us a big thumbs up on this video. Like I said, subscribe to Bussey banter and here at Langer at the mic. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok at Mike Langer. What about Bussey? Where can you reach Bussey again?
I don't have Twitter, but I have Instagram and TikTok. Jacob_Bussey 99 for both of them. Please, the more the merrier.
There you go. So thank you so much. Once again, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Bussey Banter at the mic. He's saying go Leafs go. I'm saying go Habs go. And we look forward to seeing you again next time.